Okay, folks, happy Monday. And we're back working on the stuff that we're working on. All kinds of stuff. Allied stuff, though. Germans need not apply. We got the Archer. Got the A13. That we did a wash. We did a soft tone wash over the dark sand color. And we've got the litany of KVs. 4 KVs over here. But I need to clear some desk space here because this is getting out of hand a little bit. So let's take the strong tone. We don't need you for the time being. Get this. You know what? I'm going to put the tones. The tones don't need to be there, because I have several of them, and they're tying up a lot of space. And let's move this out of the way for the time being. And let's put these away. What is this? This is Russian green. We're going to need that for the Soviets. Here's another one of these tones, another strong tone, another soft tone. We'll put these up here. And here's another one floating around here somewhere. When we come across it, we will deal with that. Here's a spare dark sand. Here's the Iraqi sand. Dark sand. We're going to need that for the tracks. Russian uniform and camouflage. Olive green. This is the base color of the Russian one. We ended up not using Russian green on any of these. We used the alternative Russian green, which is now called camouflage orange green. It's still $8.94 from Vallejo. That did not change. But what color it is did change. All these little bits. And we will see. We're kind of off to a later start than normal. And we'll see if somebody shows up to entertain each other. If not, we'll give it until 9 o'clock. The party's going to start going at 9, or we're just going to go in a different direction. I usually don't like starting later than 8 p.m. That's already too late. It is a work day tomorrow, and it starts not working out well if we start later than that. All right, so let's start working on the counter scheme. We're going to move the Archer out of the way. We're going to move these KV turrets out of the way. Here's the black paint. I'm going to go and find... Hey, what's up? Skylab? Skylab. You know what Skylab reminds me of? Skylab reminds me, there's no way you would know what Skylab reminds me of. Skylab reminds me of my dad and his National Geographic collection. So my dad apparently said that he was so long a subscriber of National Geographic, they basically kept sending him issues. I don't know, he had every issue since like 1961 or something like that. And I remember there was an episode on Skylab, whenever it was, in 71, 73, whatever it was. And what I really liked as a kid of National Geographic's was the maps, the free maps that came with them, because I'm a map guy. I dig maps. I'm a map digger. I love maps more than history. Maps are cool. History of maps, even better, the best of both worlds. So we're going to come off here and we're going to go to, I believe it was a 1/35th scale model by a company called Bronco. I'm going to go to Scale Mates. And I have kind of a small hiccup. Yeah, you remember that issue. My dad had them all. And then when he got really elderly, we ended up donating him to, I don't know who. But, you know, Fred's Factorium. Welcome, sir. Where do you hail from, Fred? Had some new people come join the feed, you know, recently. You had every issue from 1950, and I agree, the maps were my favorite. Yeah, really clear stuff. And some of the historical maps were like, you know, that had stuff superimposed on them were pretty cool. We're going to go to A13 Cruiser Mark IV. Well, that's not, why is that not coming up? That's weird. Tank. The scalemate's down or something? Oh, we'll just do A13 Cruiser. That worked. A13, this guy right here. And we will download the instructions for it. Sweden for me, so kind of late. Wow. Got to get paint on miniatures sometimes, right? Absolutely. I regret today you stopped issues after 1985. Every issue from 1950. Did you get your dad's collection or something like that? You're not old enough to have those things. You're my age, I'm pretty sure. Sweden, the land of IKEA. That's probably really annoying for you guys. That you guys are known for something that you may not be. Maybe you're okay with it, but it'd be like if somebody said, "Oh, you're from America. Oh, that's the land of Walmart." I wouldn't want to be known as that. You go all the way to the back of these instructions, and there's these beautiful examples. Beautiful examples. This one is for Operation Crusader, and you can tell they use the lighter color here as the base color, not the yellower one. This is the yellower one. Everybody knows the IKEA thing. Swedish meatballs, what else? Okay, that's really the only option in yellow. So I'm going to go ahead and paint it in this yellow scheme. That's what I'll plan on doing. And slate. Okay, so slate is the darker color, which is this one here. And that is, believe it or not, German field gray. I thought it was here. Oh, here it is. Doesn't look like it. It's German field gray. Lesser known fact, we're one of the countries that drink the most coffee in the world. That's true. What coffee comes from there that's available here? Is it Javalia? I think Javalia is the one. It comes in a yellow container. It's probably like everything imported. It's probably not the best thing you have there, you know? Yeah, I didn't know that. Thanks, National Geographic. My geography and history general knowledge as a kid was fantastic. Mine too. I got for my 7th or 8th birthday. We were in Alabama at the time. It was one of those two. I want to say it was my 8th birthday. I got a globe. I always wanted to get a globe. And it was state of the art in the late 70s because it had the little mountains on it. You could feel around. You could feel the Alps and where the Andes were and all that kind of stuff. And it was political. It was a political map, so it was a political globe. So you had the different nations in different colors, and it had some major cities, all that kind of stuff on there. A globe was about yay big, and I knew that thing backwards and forwards. Javalia is a big brand from here. Mm-hmm. What's another lesser known fact about Sweden? All right, so we're going to take this guy right here, attempt to reproduce this because this is even the correct period that I want. This is A Squadron, 5th Royal Tank Regiment, 3rd Armored Brigade, 2nd Armored Division, Libya, 1941. The scenarios that I have, they have some 7th Armored stuff as well, but they have the 2nd Armored. And the 2nd Armored Division doesn't get a whole lot of recognition in the desert as a general rule because it got pulled out early. And now its symbol was, let's see if I can zoom in on it, was basically a knight's helmet on a red background. And it was in North Africa, the first part of I think it was there in 1940 as well. But in 1941, it got pulled out and got sent to Greece, where it ended up not going, things did not go well for it. Let's just put it that way. So, we're going to do that color guide. That particular unit. All right? The armor, Wargamers, no, only because of the S-Tank. Well, now they got what? Roll the tanks, and they've got some Czech 38s or whatever that were sent to them, and this doesn't have any of the slate on the wheels, though. Let me rethink this. I mean, this one looks like a freaking carnival. When it comes to gaming, we kind of swore off D&D in the early 80s and pretty much made our own style of role-playing games. You guys probably don't know Dragonbane. Pretty much has its DNA in about 81. Never heard of it. But I'm not really much in the know of role-playing games. I haven't played a role-playing game since I was 14, which would have been 1985. So, do I got any Swedish products other than the IKEA stuff that I have here? A lot. I have a lot of IKEA stuff in here. This house that we bought, the console here that they use as a pantry is from IKEA. That thing's from IKEA. My Birkbee's from IKEA. That table's from IKEA. This table's from IKEA. This thing back here, my display case, is also from IKEA. You remember being fascinated by National Geographic articles on the warship Vasa disaster. 1520? Something like that? Justin Big Mac. Welcome back, Justin. Sand slate patches. And it's called Emperor, and it gives you the number of it here. Let me see if I can find another pattern here. A13, yep, images. It didn't have to be exactly one. The problem is when you get to the top of it, what do you do with those lines? You know? I know, I'm overthinking stuff instead of just freaking jumping in and figuring it out. I don't want to make this one just an overall bland color. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take that first drawing and we're going to tinker with it. Scale mates. And I just kind of do this stuff just so I don't doubt myself later. A13 cruiser tank. Now I should be able to go to my files, downloads. Here it is. Just once. All right, it even has it on that same page. All right, so I'm gonna start off with the turret. I'm gonna leave it attached, but I'm gonna start off with the turret. We're gonna take this German field gray, and we're not gonna airbrush this because I'm not very confident in my airbrushing skills compared to my hand painting skills. I will never be as good airbrusher as I am a hand painter. I just don't have, I've got 40 years less practice. We are working on an A13. I haven't seen you in a while, so you probably, this is a little 3D printed thing that I got from a company called SS Model. They're available on eBay. And yeah, I have a Swedish army. I have a Swedish medieval army. Let's do this brush. Let's not use one that's too small. Let's do one drop of this, and let's get the super readers out here. All right. We're going to draw this one first. So we're going to come across. I want to darken this just a tiny little bit so I've got room to add some highlighting to it. And this line goes from the top of this to the middle of that observant thing. So something like that. And this whole area is going to be dark. So I'm just going to lightly paint over that. Okay. All right, I'm going to go to the other side of the turret, and let's see, half the barrel looks like it's painted like that as well. Okay, we're going to go to the other side. And on the other side, we have a line that goes basically from the front of this to underneath where these smoke candles are. And it goes around here, and it goes to the corner that's down here. And it actually goes all the way down. Something like that. So we're going to fill that area up in. Like I was saying earlier before anybody signed on, this is a little later than I like to start. But I do have some coffee in me from earlier. And as long as we got some visitors, we should be able to power through it and get something good accomplished. Okay. And then it looks like there's another line that goes from the front of this turret here across all of this. Okay, and then there's a little bit of a little bit showing here on the fender. And I do want these to be kind of transparent to some degree because it's easier to kind of not cover up any detail with them being that way. Okay, now if you look at the front of the turret, this line looks like it does something and comes down the side of this vision slot. So we're going to do something like this, paint the roof that color, and then we're going to go straight down to there. And this one's going to go down straight as well. So we're going to go ahead and I'll paint all this as well. Now, unfortunately, this one just has it just has the slate. It doesn't have the gray color as well. But if this works out well, we will be getting more of these. And we can try other paint schemes on them because just about everybody likes the counter scheme. It's pretty cool. It's kind of unique. Okay, and then this side over here, looks like it goes something like that. And I don't really know what's going on the roof. So we'll do something plausible. Okay. Anything on the rear? Yeah, well, this doesn't really match what's on the deck. So let's go back to this side, just kind of give you an idea what we're looking at so far. And this yellow color will come up more. Okay, we are gonna brighten that up some more. Hand painting is more fun than an airbrush. I think you don't have overspray with hand painting. What I think helps a lot with hand painting is water down your paint. Almost kind of like, if you're going to draw something, you normally would do a sketch, a light sketch with a pencil that's easy to fix. Think of it the same way when you're doing these lines or you're doing any kind of wording or anything like that. Water down your paint so it's thin, it's easy to erase, and it's forgiving because we're going to make mistakes. And you don't want it to be a chore to have to fix them. So let's go like here. Fill this in here. If we go back to this side, this kind of disappears like this. That's actually showing a sand skirt I don't have. I don't have that little bit of a sand skirt there. And we have from the back of the turret here. This is kind of how I used to do this stuff when I was doing the naval miniatures. I'm going to bring this all the way to the bottom here, even though it looks like it stops short. It just doesn't seem like it would be right. And then this is going to go across here. And don't worry, we're going to dry brush over all of this, and it's going to tie it all together. Like they made this really cool paint scheme and then decided to go out for a drive in the desert and everything went sideways. All right, I'm going to paint half of this wheel slate gray. No point in painting the rubber. That's going to be rubber colored. Okay, and I'll do the same thing. I will do a smaller portion up here. Okay? Because it might not be on this vehicle, but there's lots of examples of that. And likewise, we'll paint the middle of this barrel like that. Okay? The whole front box of this is also like this. And this entire vision port thing from this side is also that same way. So when you look at it from like this angle, it goes in that direction. Now I'm going to use a little bit of artistic license. And I don't like these shapes just kind of floating out there in the middle of nothing. So I'm going to extend them down in here. And likewise, I'm going to extend this one down. Go from this point, we're going to go down, and all this down here is going to be that color, like it came down beside that wheel, and it's just not lined up on it right now. And likewise, this one would normally be like this. So I'm going to go like this. And then all of this will be that same color as well. That seems a little bit more plausible to me. Now, I did see an article that made it sound like every vehicle type had a certain scheme that was assigned for it. So in other words, if you painted a Crusader, this is exactly how you need to do it. If you painted a Humber Mark IV, this is exactly where it went. But there's lots of examples of different ones with different schemes. So which way is it, you know? Love the pictures of recent armor on Facebook. Yeah, the pictures don't come out well here. They're just dumbed down. I'm not sure what the problem is, but okay, I'm pretty happy with that side. So if we flip to the other side, we've got some dark patches that are happening basically from there. This whole area is dark right here. That whole area is dark. And on this model, it just stops like that. It doesn't go far. It doesn't go below it at all, for whatever reason. And here it shows it up the back side of the turret, almost like this, and same thing like that. And there's nothing on the side of the turret for it to tie into. Which seems rather odd. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have this come across and tie in here. Because I really don't like these shapes just kind of free floating in the middle of nowhere. Okay, so that, at least if you're looking at it from the top, it ties into that. And likewise, I'm going to do the same thing here. So at least when it's aligned, it kind of makes sense, even though, you know, if the turret's turning like that, then it doesn't really align itself. But that would happen with any camouflage pattern. All right? There's nothing on the rear. However, it looks like something comes out here. So I'm going to actually take again, we're just kind of going at this like a sketch. Because a lot of these kind of operated that way. And is there anything on the front that leads them to believe that that could be the same way? Yeah, there's definitely some incongruencies. If you look at the side view here, there's hardly anything on the fender, but here it goes past half of it. So it's like, okay, which way do you want it? And that's why I'm saying sometimes you just have to go with your gut instinct. The party started. These storms are coming from the mess in California. How can it be frosty if it's not even under freezing? Okay, so this is colored in a dark color, right? So I'm going to go ahead and take that this way. I'm going to cover this entire fender. And I'm going to come out to this corner. And then I'm going to bring it back. Because this camouflage scheme almost had some weird splintering that would happen with it. And, you know, we're going to end up dry brushing over it. So that's just kind of like the basic pattern. And likewise, I did on the other side. I'm going to go ahead and take this line. I'm actually going to bring it back here. And now I'm going to take it down. And I'm going to bring this across here. Down at an angle. And we're going to fill this whole area in with slate. this area too, in between the wheels. And then we'll do part of this here. And part of that one there. Let's angle this more of a, like that sort of thing. Okay, that's looking a little bit more. I'm actually fine with this side. I'm fine with this over here. I'm fine with this coming to a point. I'm fine with this side. I don't think I'm going to tinker with it more than that. Let's fill this in. More, and we can build up on it from that. Now, the only gripe I have about this is I didn't have the foresight. I didn't have the foresight to drill this thing out. So there's this little round, almost looks like the cone, the ammo cone that's on the top of a phalanx. You know, phalanx close defense chain gun that's on Navy ships. That's what it kind of looks like. And that's where the antenna sprouts from. And I don't think I can drill it out now, because the problem is that I have made it a little too, there's not enough support behind it that if I'm going to put any kind of ass on it, it's going to end up popping that piece off. So I don't really know what I'm going to do. I may end up having to use like a piece of plastic sprue, and well, I can't weld cement it. This isn't plastic. So we're just gonna roll with it. We're just gonna roll with it and hope for the best. You finished the Polish machine gun teams, now just got to put labels on them. Cool. All right, so we're going to do a little bit of highlighting with this color. And remember, we're going to weather over this. So even though this doesn't look like it's tied in really well, it will be good. And then we will just go this color straight. Okay, so now that we got that kind of down, we're going to take this sandy color, dark sand to be specific, and I'm going to take something that's pretty dry. I said this is kind of uncharted territory. I'm just kind of figuring this out just from experience. And we're going to take the same color, which is what we ended up dry brushing on it anyways. And then we're going to go over this. Now, normally this dark sand is the color that I use to add to other colors, so to lighten them up. I can't do that here because it is the base color. So what I'm going to have to do is get another color that's going to use it to bring it up. What color am I going to choose to do that? It's probably going to be one of the colors that is in the desert basing. Now, unfortunately, dark sand is the lightest color, which is this one. So I'm going to probably take this same color, add a little bit of white to it, brighten it up a little bit more. And that's what we're going to end up using. I think I need to go brighter than Iraqi sand. Iraqi sand is actually darker than this, so that wouldn't work. I'm going to need to bring that up. But one thing I want to do, and I want to make sure that this is pretty dry, I'm going to take the same color and I'm going to go over the slate I just did. So in other words, in the factory or the area in the back, they went and added this slate, but they added it on top of this base color, which means after a while it's going to wear out, but the base color isn't at the same rate. And it's also going to give it kind of a softer, worn look. Vallejo Speed Paint is better. Mix white into it. Yeah, we'll get there. We got to get the we got to get everything to this level. Maybe not white, but something that's I mean, if there's something that's going to fade like a mother, it's this. That didn't look half bad. That doesn't look half bad. And we haven't painted the road wheels or anything just yet. That's coming up soon. I love doing on a camouflage scheme. If something has a hard edge, have the camouflage color rub off of it and have the bottom color show through it. Just I like the way that that ends up presenting itself. All right, that doesn't look half bad. Now, because invariably we're going to end up having. And by the way, if I had the other tone in here, if it was a 3-tone one with this other one, I'd do the same thing, just to kind of have them disappear a little bit. That turret not centered. I guess it's off to one side a little bit. That's just how that vehicle is, I suppose. All right, I'm going to go ahead and paint the tracks and stuff in its color, and then we'll go over that as well. So. That one has blue markings. Okay. That's easy enough to do. I'll be right back. I need to do the road wheels now. I think that's going to make a big difference. That in the track, it's going to make substantially a better look. Let's do the road wheels first. So let's get some black out here. A little bit, one drop of this Flow Aid. That works miracles to get things to go smooth around those wheels and not catch on them. That brush should just be about right. Because when we weather this, we're going to end up weathering this as well. So we've already got some different, and it's going to look better when you clear coat it, because right now there's some shiny aspects to it. Those things will disappear. That happens every time. You'll be like, man, this is going to look like crap. It's got the shiny part in it. Nope. It'll all straighten itself out. I used to use Tamiya paints back in the early 90s when I had a Pache airbrush I could go with, but I'm not really a big fan of them. I can almost remember what they smell like. They have a very particular alcoholic smell. You buy the thinner for the Tamiya thinner, or you just use rubbing alcohol? Don't use water. And Tamiya paints do not thin well with water. I'm going to go ahead and take this off, because if I somehow clip that, I got a broken barrel. That's going to be a pain to fix. Alcoholic, yeah. Do you like dry brushing? I'm hooked on it. I'm just starting to use it again. But I didn't, when I was doing figures, the only time I end up dry brushing is if I was doing chainmail. Other than that, there's no dry brushing on my figures. But now these tanks, we're using straight painting, we're using dry brushing, we're using washes. Or as they say in Michigan, washes. Washes and crick. I live by the crick. You don't drink, so impossible to be an alcoholic. I drink, but it is so not addictive. So I can't be an alcoholic either. Back to you. As a matter of fact, the more I drink, the less I want it the next day. That's the only time I dry brush on miniatures. Chainmail, yep. I kind of do it on my basing, but it's more like a wet dry brush, so I don't know that I would be really a dry brush. Forget it, I'm getting bourbon on the rocks. Want one? Nah, bourbon's a little too sweet. I can have bourbon, but I prefer whiskey with or without the E. I was coming back from Canada, and what did we have on the plane? I asked for, they didn't have much selection. So I'm like, of all the things that they had, I was like, all right, I'll have a Jack Daniels on the rocks. And I had a couple of them, but the first one I had was really, really good. I don't know what they did to it, but it was really, really good. That's probably the only time I need a drink is when I fly. I am not a fan of turbulence. Although I've never seen anybody that gets airsick. Somebody that would, vomit into those little bags they have. I don't get that kind of sickness. I'm just scared as shit. I'd be too scared to throw up. Irish whiskey, yeah, or Scotch. What time is it? 9:30. Okay, I'll have a drink. Right back. So if I have beer late, I fall asleep. But if I have scotch or whiskey late, it wakes me up. We're going to have some of this stuff. This stuff is very, very good. And yes, we're going to have very little. Ten-year Lafrogue. Please drink responsibly. Okay. Okay, folks. Salud. That is a very unique taste. Very peaty. Hold that thought. I'll be down in Florida in a couple hours. Better not be Bud Light. Hell no. Forget about anything about Bud Light. It just doesn't have enough taste. Don't have to drive anywhere, no. And I could drink some more with just this. I don't like doing shots. You're wasting. It's just part of the experience. When I was doing the Russians, I bought some. Well, I couldn't get any Russian vodka because but I've never had vodka straight until then, and it's okay. You're just sipping little bits at a time. Okay, that's about done. Is there anything else that's black on here? Well, we do have the machine gun. It does have a cover on it. I'm going to say that only this part of it is going to be black. And the end of the smoke candles. We are going to have some rustified things on there, but that's a different situation. All right, let's put this brush away. You don't care for beer, period? There's all kinds of beer. My daughter said it best when she said, I don't understand why people don't like beer. Because there's all kinds, And yeah, some of it sucks. The King of the Nerd Burglars. The Curse of the Nerd Burglars. Speaking of nerd burglars, I was bored this morning and actually surfing around, and I came across an excerpt of different interviews that Henry Cavill had given about his gaming thing. Because apparently he's a gamer. Making some 40K movie or something like that. But he plays Warhammer, so, you know, my condolences. But he apparently paints his own stuff, so. I guess he's got enough money to buy new rule books when they redo them. Said, oh, these no good, throw away your miniatures, buy the other ones. We're going to use the same old camouflage black-brown. Immediately. Let me rephrase that one. American beer. I have not tried European beer. There is a good American-made beer. There's just not any of the major brands you'd probably know. There's all kinds of stuff that is made everywhere. I don't like how they just like, some places just seem like they're trying to figure out how much hops they can put in something. It's like, you know, can we just like make a drink that's all hops and no beer? As some people just seem to be able to, you know, do that. That's just unpleasant. That's just unpleasant. So this is just a really dark brown. It could simulate old rust. And this is going to end up getting weathered on top of it. And I just find this is a really good color to dry brush on top of. Works really, really well. Oh, look, I got a little bit over it. It doesn't matter. I was going to come in and weather over that. I can't say I've ever drunk painted. Way back in the day, when I lived alone, in the mid-90s, I had a room in my condo, which is just a fancy name for an apartment that you pay a mortgage on. Don't want to make it sound like it's the beach or anything. It's just a regular apartment that you can, you know, that you own, or you're in the process of owning. And I had one room that was the painting room. And it was like a full room. And my original Mitch, whose name was Jeff, who did this scale stuff, come over on Wednesday nights. I don't know why it was Wednesday night. And paint. And he'd leave his paints and miniatures there, and he'd come back on Wednesday and finish them. And he's a lot faster painter than I am. And sometimes we'd had a beer. And if we had that second beer, we were just going to hang out. It just was, I didn't care about painting. Just didn't matter. So for me, painting, for the longest time, has been a social thing. I don't go hide in a room and paint and don't have anybody to talk to. It's weird. So even though I'm kind of doing kind of a monologue here, this is the best I can do to kind of socialize to a degree and still work on this hobby. Because it's pretty darn boring to sit there and do this by yourself and have nobody to interact with. Okay, we'll do the same thing on this other side. Thank you. So I learned, even though I am a notoriously bad multitasker, and I don't care, because I'm really good at stuff if I'm paying attention. If I'm trying to do two things at once, forget about it. I'm no good. I'm not your guy. I will make dumb mistakes. Not all the time, but more frequently than I'd like. Even though I'm not a good multitasker, I can have a conversation with somebody else that's painting with me and paint at the same time. I guess because I've done it so many times. But I got off to a later start today because I decided to go into town and go see Mitch and the guys, see what they were playing. But it was just him waiting on one other person to show up. So I just hung out with him for about an hour and a half or so. That's why I got off kind of to a later start. He was getting ready to play a game of, what's it called? Command and Colors Napoleonics. You have two Traveler 8200 books to unbox, and I haven't gotten around to it. Really busy for the last 6 hours. What was the, I mentioned it the other day, what was the name of that superhero role-playing game that was big? You said Traveler. I said, yeah, I remember a couple people playing Traveler. But what was the superhero one? I never played it because I was never into superheroes. Of course, never really into role-playing games either, but just something that I did a couple times when I was 14. I did it enough that some guy wanted to get out of it, and he ended up giving me his modules. So I ended up with, like, Keep on the Borderlands and Tomb of Horror. There's a Tomb or Tombs? Tomb of Horror. Never played Napoleonics in the Command and Colors games. Yeah, well, it's a good game. It just doesn't simulate anything. It doesn't. It doesn't motivate me to read about Napoleonic stuff after I play a game of a certain battle. So in that respect, it's a fail. Because I think that's one of the things that I like about historical war games is you'll play something and then you'll want to know more about, like, what happened before, what happened afterwards. And in doing so, you're learning real stuff. And the Command and Colors game, even though it's a decent as a game, it's just so generic of an experience if you're like a big Napoleonics buff. These are rusty portions that we're going to paint up the exhaust thing here. It gets really, really hot. It gets so hot that the paint flakes off of it. That's really what's happening there. So it's coming into shape. The only thing I might have done differently is I might have painted the camouflage and then done the wash. But I don't know if it would have made that much of a difference in these colors. But the next time I'm going to do it that way and apply the wash afterwards. Play Aber a few times, not a bad game. Tony, if you have either of them that are in good condition, they'll still be worth a good chunk. Aberration, the game. What was it called? I gotta look it up. No, this is... So I've got this little IKEA, of course, little drawer thing, and it's made of just tin. And if I've got my foot too close to it, I'm popping it in by accident. I'm gonna find out what the name of this damn game is. It's gonna drive me crazy. Superhero role-playing game. It's not Heroes Unlimited. It's not Legends. Gamma World. There's another one. Gamma World. Remember Gamma World? I never played it, but I remember the cover of it. Champions. Champions is what it was called. Super role-playing game and hero combat system. I don't know. I never read comic books, so... Champions. Too late, Tony. You're already crazy. Welcome to Localville. Population you and several others. That's right. Strap yourself in. All right, I need to let that dry a little bit because I don't want to pick up any of that paint and move it to a different location while I'm putting it on there. So it's almost 10 o'clock. I'm going to call it a night, but I'm probably going to post pictures on Facebook of the progress report because whatever I show you here, it does not look accurate. And it's actually looking pretty darn good. And we're not even done any weathering yet on it. So, I think I'm going to be pretty happy with it. My only concern is it's not very durable, just because it's so damn brittle. But I'm going to put it on a stand that's going to look the color of this with rocks. I'm going to do it the same as this with, some dry tuftage. And I think it'll end up looking pretty good. And I'm probably going to use blue numbers like this particular example had on here. How come you don't do no short videos? It's a lot of work. And I'm not filming any games. I'm not playing any games. Otherwise, I'd be filming them. It's fun to film things. It's a lot of work. Yeah, it doesn't look bad. And we're not done yet. So, and there's a lot of depth of color, which is really what I want. You've got a black tank, and then you've got the dry brush color, so it still has a little bit of that black come through. Then you've got that wash to add some brown properties to it. Then you end up, you're just different layers of interest. You got some areas here where it looks like it rained and it got kind of rusty. It's looking pretty good. It's looking pretty good, and we're not done yet. So, yeah, pretty happy with this guy. So, shorts. Oh, shorts. Yeah, I've never done a shorts. There are two. Remember way back when those things called vines, which is just the same as shorts. They're too short, man. They create ADD. I get the North Africa miniature form. I will need to steal your basing colors. Okay. Well, I'll show you what it looks like, and it may or may not be what you like. Because I do get ideas from other people, and I'm like, oh, that looks pretty good. Or like, I liked everything except that one thing you do. So put your own spin on it, you know? I like the basing colors. These basing colors are one of the desert choices from Flames of War. Why did I pick it? Because it already gave me a triad of colors. It told me what 3 colors to use. And I didn't have to try it multiple times and realize, man, everything is great except that one color I put on it and it turned it gray. You know, because I don't want to, you know, have to do it multiple times, you know, to get it right. So this color here that I painted the rocks with, I believe is called Pale Sand. And that is probably going to be the lightest color. I believe it's this one right here. Yeah, Pale Sand. It's nearly white. This is probably going to be one of the dry brush colors on the tracks and stuff. So, but anyhow, the plan is to get this guy done and then probably do the Panzer I in North Africa colors. And I do have some stuff that is specifically for North Africa. It was unintentionally that way. I did not intend it to be this way, but one of the things that I picked up from Noble Knight was a set of Pack 36s by a company called HAT, H-A-T. And it comes with a crew. And the crew it comes with are Africa Corps. They're Africa Corps crew members. And they are very soft plastic. Very soft. And the gun is actually very soft as well. So that's going to be kind of an interesting challenge, how I'm going to be able to do that. It was one of those, I had a few more bucks, and I'm like, let's go ahead and use that. The crew are kind of basic, but I think I could probably make them look all right. It comes with 4 guns in here, actually. So, I can make a little pack front. Pack 36 pack front. So, anyhow. 37 millimeter can hurt one of these guys. These guys don't have a whole lot of armor. I think the max armor they have is maybe 30 mil. So, anyhow, to be continued. I think it looks pretty good. Especially since I had to kind of create my own camouflage scheme. And I'm going to have to do that on many cases because if this works out as a viable vehicle, I need 5 more of them. So, you know, one of them can have no camouflage. One of them can be like this. One of them can have another 2, you know, have both of these colors in it. This color is the one that's there, you know, which is actually German field gray. So, okay, but anyways, thanks for stopping by, folks. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Have a good night. Bye-bye.